Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have looked to another in-house candidate as John Van Dam is getting an interview with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the vacant offensive coordinator position, the Bucs tight ends coach. Joining me is Evan Wanich of BucsNation.com and the Cannon Fire podcast. Evan, John Van Dam, he started with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2022, and he's really been a part of the Bucs since then. It's his fifth season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2023, and his second as the tight ends coach. He was tight ends coach from 2022 to 2023. Before that, he was an assistant tight ends coach. He was an offensive quality control coach in 2020. He was with the Bucs when they won the Super Bowl. So, thoughts and opinions here on JVD and what he could potentially bring.
Yeah, so this one's interesting because this one, when you're looking at some of the in-house candidates, I mean, really, what did we really have, right? Besides Thad Lewis, the only one that you could have maybe seen getting an interview might have been a guy like Harold Goodwin. And now Harold Goodwin's off to Carolina. I think there was some thought maybe like a guy like Brad Idzik could get an interview. Obviously, he's off to Carolina as well. Um, I don't believe that's official, but looking that way. So the in-house guys, it was pretty much like, okay, Thad Lewis. And now, here with John Van Dam, you do have a different in-house candidate here. A guy who, again, this might be, and I know we've mentioned this a few times, but you might just be, picking the brain of a guy here. Maybe you think he's in line for like some sort of promotion here. Or maybe sometimes they just like to how do I put this? Sometimes they just like to maybe like reward a guy like that, where if you're getting an offensive coordinator interview, that's saying something, right? And that gets you on teams' radar to where, oh, this guy interviewed for an OC job. Like he must be doing something right. So sometimes that's the case as well with a lot of these. So I don't know, and I don't want to come on here and say he has no shot at the job, but not sure how realistic of a hire he would be. Just because seems like that's maybe more of a like doing the guy a solid type deal. And we have no idea what he would bring to the table as offensive coordinator, but um, it's definitely something where it surprised me a little bit, but I am pleasantly surprised, that they're still looking in house, not just at guys like that Lewis.
It's interesting. Van Dam used to play quarterback at Michigan State. He then joined the University of. He was an assistant quarterbacks coach in Florida in 2015. A similar role in Michigan in 2014. He was at the University of Alabama as an offensive graduate assistant before then. I think in 2012 and 2013. In He was a graduate assistant and tight ends coach at Augustana College in 2008, wide receivers coach in 2010 and 2011 at the same college. Um, he was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Lafayette College in 2018. He was an offensive coordinator for Southern Illinois in 2016 and 2017. He's had a lot of different hats, but he does and been to a lot of different places, but he does have some offensive coordinator experience, which I, you know, am pleasantly surprised with that. But like you said, it is nice that the Bucs are looking to a lot of different options. John Van Dam's done a lot of different types of things, and again, Evan, this is another guy who's a former quarterback, um, and has also been doing a lot of different stuff offensively to a lot of different places as well. It's an interesting interview, right? Again, I presented this theory before with Thad Lewis. Do you Could this also be a thing of them maybe saying, "Hey, would you want to stay on if we bring in a new guy?" What do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think that could be the case. Just sort of, gauging interest in remaining on the staff. Now, again, though, like I mentioned with that Lewis, that honestly maybe if they decide to go outside the organization, that may be that offensive coordinator's decision, right? That may be whoever they hire, that may be their decision. So I don't think it's completely cut and dry, just like that, because I do think there's other factors there. But I definitely think that's something that has come up. Like, hey, man, like, look, like, gonna be straight with you, like, like there's a possibility, if you don't get this job, would you have interest in staying on if if we are offered you the job, right? So I do think that's probably part of the conversations here. I don't know for sure if that would happen because like I said, I think that would be whoever they would hire, that would be their call. Even Thad Lewis, I think it would be even like his call. Like if he wanted to keep a guy like John Van Dam, or bring in his own. The curious thing there, with both, I think Lewis and Van Dam, and I mentioned it with Lewis, but Harold Goodwin, Joe Gilbert, like those guys are now gone. And also, like Brad Idzik is most likely gone. So now the Buccaneers are looking to have to fill out, a run game coordinator potentially, an offensive line coach, and a wide receivers coach. So there's a good chance that whoever the offensive coordinator is going to bring a lot of new staff in place, and with the lack of coaching experience that Thad Lewis has, and like the in-house thing of John Van Dam, you wonder like, okay, who would these guys potentially bring onto their staff? And that is something that's always curious to me.
Is there anybody else that you could see from the? I'm looking at the Bucs coaching staff right now. Two names that kind of not jump off the page, but just the offensive coaches that are left. By the way, I didn't know Rashad Johnson was on the Bucs coaching staff. That's kind of cool. You have a couple of guys who are still here, like Brad Idzik is still technically a part of the Bucs coaching staff. You have Tom Moore, which I don't think Tom Moore is going to want to be an offensive coordinator at this point in his career. But
Why not?
well, Skip Pete's a name maybe. David Rye, he's the senior offensive analyst. You have Jordan Somerville. He's an assistant. He is the assistant quarterbacks coach. So there's a couple of guys who are still part of the offensive coaching staff that are still here. Do you see anybody else maybe getting an interview, like maybe a guy like Skip Pete?
I personally don't. Um, that's just like I said. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have any inside info on that. I was actually surprised that a guy like John Van Dam got an interview. I thought if they were looking in house, it was going to be basically one guy, and that was going to be Thad Lewis. But they have their eye on a few other candidates, and hey, I think that's a good thing, right? Like I do think that is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if a guy like Skip Pete maybe got an interview, but I'm not expecting it. And I do know that yes, technically Brad Idzik is still listed on the Buccaneers site and on the Buccaneers coaching staff, but all indications are that he is joining the Carolina Panthers as their offensive coordinator. So I think you can sort of count him out. I do know there was a lot of people maybe wondering, like, hey, like, I mean, Idzik's going to Carolina to be their offensive coordinator. He's like Canales is probably going to call the plays there. Why wouldn't Idzik just like to maybe stay, right? And be in Tampa as their offensive coordinator? Doesn't sound like that's in the cards. So I don't, when looking at this staff and the offensive coaching staff, I don't really expect anything else. Any other interviews for the offensive coordinator to come from in-house besides those two. So I would say no.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on things here. This is still obviously, hey, it's a name, man. It's a name. Why not? Maybe it was a bit surprising to people, but hey, don't count out JVD. Okay, we'll just say that. Don't count him out. Don't count out JVD. You never know. So we'll see, guys. Let us know your thoughts and opinions about John Van Dam getting an interview for the OC position. We'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Go check out Evan's work over at BucsNation.com and at the Cannon Fire Podcast. And as always, guys, we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.